just prep up. We big here. 11 a.m. SportsRap. Catch up real soon. You know where we are. Facebook Live. SportsRap Podcast. Group page. Got my partner in the building with me.
Yes, sir.
You know what it's going to be. It's going to rock as always. But now you got the two-headed monster. We're going to give it to y'all straight with no chasing. Like you say, sports as we see it. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's your boy, SportsRap D, in the building. Got my partner over there with me.
Yes, sir.
And you know where we are. SportsRap Podcast is the group page on Facebook. So get over there right now and join us. You know what we do each and every Monday. We got some news, some updates we're going to kick for you. We're going to give you some scores. And then we're going to get into NCAA. We're going to talk quite a little bit about the brackets. I got some brackets here with the teams and everything. So I got the men's bracket and the women's bracket. And if we have some time left over, got some other stuff that we could argue, we could probably sprinkle in. But more importantly for us, this is usually our full show on the bracket. So that's pretty much going to be the bulk of the show, since we're going to go through both the back brackets a little bit today. So shout outs to congratulations to all the teams that made both of the tournaments in the women's field and the men's field. Put in their hard work. Now the money time comes. Mm-hmm. And for me, this is arguably the best time of the year in sports for me. And I know people get caught up in, well, no, football is this and baseball is that. Baseball is a whole different animal right now, so we're not even going to really talk about that too much. But they did come to an agreement. Opening day is scheduled to be, I think, April the 7th. Training camp, spring training to be starting soon for them. So, and they made some rules changes in baseball, so we'll see how all that plays out with the baseball world. But you look at March Madness, as it is affectionately called, and it's only about a month, a little longer than a month.
Morning, though. Good morning, Omar Phillips. What's up, brother?
The thing about it is, we have games that are starting on Thursdays and Fridays. Mm-hmm. So there's like every Thursday and Friday, you got games. On the weekends, you got games as well. And it takes out the soap operas and all that other stuff. So unfortunately, they won't get to see their stuff. But you just have games, and like we said, it's one and done. So you got to bring your A game every night, because you can get bounced at any given moment. Mm-hmm. And you always talk about the upsets, the Cinderella stories. Sometimes you get those favorites that just breeze through. But we'll talk about that in a lot more detail in a little bit. Let's see. Okay, Omar. Yeah, like Boss said, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Nate, thanks for tuning in. So we all know the Seahawks have traded Russell Wilson to the Broncos. Good for us.
Get him out of there.
Good for us.
Get him out of there.
Me being an Eagles fan, my partners being 49ers fans, he's out of the NFC.
Out of the NFC. So, especially out the West, baby.
That's another quarterback that we don't have to worry about in the NFC anymore. They also, the Seahawks, released Bobby Wagner.
I'll take that. There was question that he could possibly end up with the Niners, but then he plays middle linebacker like Fred Warner. So it's a possibility that we could mess around and get him.
Yeah. Hey.
And if we mess around and get him,
it's crazy. That would be definitely crazy.
I'll take that.
I know the Eagles should be looking at that, because we need linebacker help bad. We needed linebacker help badly for the past several years. Mm-hmm. So Howie Roseman, you should be looking into that. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers agrees to a $200 million deal to stay with the Packers. LSU receives notice of allegations for violations with within the men's programs. So that's stemming back to a story that I brought up last week, where a returning running backs coach for the LSU football team was brought up on allegations from a former female African-American sister employee there. And initially, LSU stated that they knew nothing about it, nothing was brought up until she brought up her lawsuit, and then she brought up her lawsuit, and she was terminated after that lawsuit. So wish her the best. You can follow that story if you want. You can Google it and find it. The Packers are going to use the franchise tag on Devontae Adams so he can at least stay with Aaron Rodgers for one more run. Like I said, Major League Baseball is set to return. Opening day is April the 7th. There are reports out that the University of Georgia and Tom Crean will part ways after this season. Ben Simmons is expected to file a grievance against the Philadelphia 76ers.
Of course.
And I'm sure we're going to save a moment to talk a little bit about that so you understand what that situation is and how I think it's preposterous. But we'll save that. We're gonna
been some Danny Green quotes.
Yeah, some Danny Green comments and quotes.
So may shed some light on some things.
Yeah, we're going to pencil that in for y'all so y'all can be brought up to speed on a lot of the stuff that we mentioned to y'all in the past about this guy. So, sit tight, stay tuned for that. Kudos and I guess congratulations, and I'm kind of happy for this moment. Deshaun Watson avoids criminal charges, where he was looking at 9 criminal complaints, but the civil suits are still active. So still some stuff going on, but I'm glad that he will not have to face those criminal charges. But again, I always like to say here, when I hear stuff like that, leads me to believe that there was some falsified stuff in those charges or the allegations from the very beginning. Joe Buck is expected to leave Fox for ESPN, probably going to join his partner, Troy Aikman, who also has left and went to ESPN. Cowboys released place kicker Greg Zuerlein and tight end Blake Jarwin. They also traded Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns. They re-upped their receiver Gallup. So I'm a little confused right now with what's going on with the Cowboys. Blake Jarwin was your tight end, allegedly your tight end for the future. I understand the place kicker, but your tight end, a little confused there with that one. The Raiders lock up defensive end Max Crosby on a 4-year, $95 million deal. Tom Brady is set to return to football again. They say it's Richard Drummond, my guy. Thanks for tuning in. What did Nate say real quick?
Charges should have filed in the first place. I've been saying that since day one.
Yeah, that's true.
They should have. You're right, Nate.
Good morning to you, Rich.
They definitely should have.
This Tom Brady thing is a little bit of a surprise to me. It's been like the shortest retirement ever. I think they said it was like 40 days. Rich says, what a shock. Yeah, I know how you mean that, Rich. And there's been mixed views and mixed opinions and a lot of crazy comments. The coach, Bruce Arians, was asked at one point if Tom Brady were to come out of retirement, would he welcome him back? So his initial answer was basically no. So I don't know how that word play and that word game is going to play out for them. But we'll see. But Tom Brady has announced over the weekend that he will be coming back. 2 NFC South teams have made offers for Deshaun Watson. WWE star Scott Hall was on life support following complications from surgery. There's a 5-star recruit signs a record NIL deal for American athletes, could be worth over $8 million. Richard said he has said he's always going to want to play past 45 and wanting to play near 50. Yeah, well, I hope they keep a good offensive line, because if he plays at that long, Rich, and we already know he can't move, he really is not going to be able to move at 45 and 50 with the speed of defensive linemen and linebackers and other positions. So Gonna be a lot of holding calls on that team.
It's gonna be a whole lot.
Let's see. The Vikings give Kirk Cousins an extension that should be worth $35 million. Baseball sides, like we said, have agreed to an agreement. Again, their season will open April the 7th. Bruce Weber resigns at K-State after 3 losing seasons. The Commanders, it's gonna feel weird. Yeah, Rich, that's crazy how the blood clots got to him. I see that. The Commanders cut safety Landon Collins. There you go, Howie. Like Howie, the tea leaves are being spread around for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why are the Vikings cutting anything? I don't know, Rich. Maybe because they figure they have at least a quarterback and they can hold on to him for some fairly cheap. But we all know how they fell apart last season. So I'm probably expecting the same thing at some point during the season or towards the end of the season. It's going to be weird calling the Washington football team the Commanders. I had just gotten used to calling them the Washington football team. But now the Commanders, it's just, it kind of sounds like they should be in like the USFL or the XFL with that kind of name. Yeah. So we'll see how that
Gonna keep calling them Washington.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll just say Washington. The Titans released Pro Bowl guard Roger Safford. A judge in Las Vegas postpones the hearing for Henry Ruggs III in that accident. Commander Wentz. Right. Yeah, that story there, boy, is crazy. Like, I've been telling people, just real quick, since Richard brought that up, I've been telling people when there was first talk of the trade, and then the trade finally happened, I said, it says a lot about you as a player and a little bit as a person, where you lost a coach, you had what arguably was an MVP season here.
Mm-hmm.
We had 1-17 when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. You got injured. Then you came back and you declined every year after that. Then you decided you wanted to demand a trade, so you made a trade. The Eagles made a trade. You wanted to go back to your coach that had you playing at that MVP level.
Right.
You couldn't seal the deal. So now you're traded again. Says a lot. And at the end of the season, when you couldn't seal the deal in the playoffs, the coach was asked about you in reference to being the quarterback of the future, and there was no solid commit from that coach. So again, like I said,
well, it goes back to when he was here and got hurt, and during the run, when Nick Foles was making his run after the season was after they won the Super Bowl, you know, he said he could have been a better teammate.
Right.
So it goes back to all those guys that were there in that locker room that saw him in a different way, like saw him being cancerous to the team. For him to make that statement saying he could have been a better teammate, he probably was acting like a jerk at a high level. And that could truly be who you really are.
Right.
You know?
Rich just chimed in and says a lot of people say he's uncoachable. And with everything that's going on now, I can definitely believe
it. It might be.
Like, again, the tea leaves are lining in that order. He also said that he heard Jordan Hicks is available. Yes, I immediately saw that when I posted and I tagged in there how we bring him back. That would be a great pickup for the Eagles again. Nate says that Deshaun Watson is expected to meet with the Panthers and the Saints later today. So that's good for him. Sproles, he says, talking about in reference to Wentz and what you just mentioned, Bardies. Richard chimes in. He says Sproles got in his face about detrimental to the team. Yeah, absolutely. William Tross, thanks for tuning in. Finally, in your news and updates, we all know it now. Troy Aikman has gone to ESPN, and he said Fox never offered and never made an offer before he decided to leave to go to ESPN. And like I mentioned earlier, it looks like his partner Joe Buck will probably be joining him over there. Let's go into some scores. Let's see here. Let's go NHL first. Hurricanes fall to the Penguins 4-2. The Maple Leafs fall to the Sabres 5-2. The Golden Knights fall to the Blue Jackets 6-4. In overtime, the Flyers fall to the Canadiens 4-3. The Winnipeg Jets outlast the Blues in overtime as well, 4-3. The Ducks fall to the Islanders 4-3. Calgary Flames get blanked by the Avalanche 3-0. The Panthers fall to the Kings 3-2, and the Lightning outlast the Canucks 2-1. And yeah, Joe Buck signed the deal for baseball already with ESPN. Yeah, I figured that. Like, once Troy Aikman wasn't there, thanks for that, Rich. Once Troy Aikman wasn't there, I figured that it wouldn't be long before he would at least, or at worst, join Troy Aikman to do some stuff over there. So he's always done baseball. You know, he's always in the league championship series or the division championship series, the league championship series, and the World Series. So arguably, it's not not that bad of a jump, but it's still just a good fit for him. Yesterday in the NBA, the Nets outlast the Knicks 110-107. The Clippers get past the Pistons 106-102. The Mavs get by the Celtics 95-92. The Sixers in overtime squeak by the Orlando Magic 116-114. The Rockets fall to the Pelicans 130-105. The Pacers fall to the Hawks 131-128. Grizzlies 125 over the Thunder 118. And the Suns beat up on the Lakers 140-111. Yeah, Rich, they were very good. As much as I didn't like Troy Aikman as a Cowboy, he showed me a lot as once he got into the booth and being a commentator for football. So,
yeah, they're like the modern.
The Ryan Geek, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, Rich, horrible defense. Like they've got to definitely do something about these slow starts. Hopefully, they won't have a slow start tonight, which will arguably be tough since they traveled and they played a game in overtime last night. So that's going to be tough. But hopefully, we'll get to see what we want to see. Got Embiid going up against Jokic tonight.
Yeah.
With the injury to Jamal Murray, if Tobias can play like he played last night, I would take the Sixers in this game tonight.
I probably would. There's still this question mark of identity. Who are we? There's still. I'm gonna tell you something. Kevin Durant said something the other night in the interview that I truly believe Orlando put into play. He said that the Sixers were a terrible defensive team in transition.
Absolutely.
And what you saw Orlando do was snatch the rebound, get it up the wing, and one bounce pass and lay us out. I mean, the fast break points they was getting was crazy. Then he also said,
yeah, Rich, he does look lost.
It's clear that we're a bad team on the perimeter.
On the perimeter, absolutely.
So, I mean, we've been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
We've been there for a very long time. I mean, we've had good guys that could defend from time to time, but collectively, we have not been good playing defense on the perimeter. Since when? I go way back.
Yeah.
Even when J.J. Redick was here.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's sort of the things that we have to look at, you know, as a team and those guys as players.
Yes, it has been, Rich. Transition.
What do we need to do? What is it we need? How can we not fix it, but how can we make our defense better? Because they're not going to fix it.
No, it just needs to be better.
Doc Rivers wants to outscore people.
Yeah, and it's got to be better quickly.
Right. And we got to get back to, like, Tyrese Maxey's, his development now is staggering.
Right.
Especially offensively. I'm watching this kid come down, pass the ball, and move out the way.
Right.
Where this was not this kid prior to the trade. So everybody's adjusting.
And him in the first couple of games of the trade.
Right. And everybody's adjusting.
Right.
So there's like, okay, if Tyrese is off, or, I mean, he's only, last couple games, he only took about 6-7 shots. For a kid like that, 6-7 shots ain't going to get it. He gets to listen, that young boy can get to the cup, and he's a good free throw shooter.
Great point, Rich. Richard says the Sixers are relying on Joel to be the stopper. If you can't defend, if you're not defending on the perimeter, Embiid can't stop anyone. That is so true.
The help defense gets slower.
Transition has been non-existent.
Absolutely. Been trash.
And Matisse has looked lost out there.
He looks crazy out there. You know, you don't want to be so...
Well, Richard chimed in again. He says he thinks that Harden has pushed his veteran status and moved the kid out of the way.
Oh, he definitely has.
And I'm thinking that has, and I'm thinking it's being shown now because of the way the Nets game played out.
Right.
And I think that's what it is. And I think they got to let that go. Again, I was one to even say it was a horrible, horrible loss. It was like their emotions were caught up in the wrong aspect of the entire situation. Mm-hmm. Their aspect was caught in the off the court stuff, the outside of basketball stuff. And the Nets came in with a focus on the basketball stuff. And it was just start to finish. And also you can throw in there when you got playing a team that's shooting 68% with guys like they have, and you have 20 turnovers, it's hard to come back from that, regardless of who you have. It's hard to come back like that. I mean, you take away what the Nets have in Kyrie and KD and the way they played in that game, you're not beating too much of anybody with 20 turnovers. 20, and I'm going to say 20 turnovers is maybe just an exaggeration. It was probably more. Mm-hmm. But if you just say 20, I'm going to say at least 14, 15 of them were unforced errors.
Right.
And they were mistakes that we don't normally make.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what led me to believe that they were caught up in the wrong emotions in that whole entire situation. Now, just real quick, and I know some people might laugh about this, and Baldy's probably going to laugh and chuckle about this. Getting back to what everybody has been saying about who won the trade and this, that, and whatever. And, you know, we can always dig and find stuff that you can plug in here and you can plug in there. I'm just going to play with y'all for a little bit and just have a little bit of fun. Steph Curry played a hell of a game against us. But turn around, he didn't even play against the Knicks.
Right.
There was a stretch when he was here where there was like 4 or 5 games where he scored a total of what? Like maybe 20 points in that stretch. So, again, just like I said, just having some fun with y'all, pointing some things out that I noticed. But I was also one that said I would have liked to have kept Steph Curry because of what he did for us. And I also, evaluating the entire situation basketball-wise, mentioned to a lot of people that he is a very good role player. And people will argue and say, oh, well, he can't hear me, he did this, he did that. So you got to look at the entire situation where him coming here, being that role player that he was, and what was on the Sixers roster at the time, he was the best option at that position to start when this roster was made up the way it was made up when he got here. Yeah, Rich, he did. Richard just said, he shot the lights out. Let me get it again. He said, Seth shot the lights out against us prior, 8 points in 6 games in January. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So the streakiness is there. But like I said, the things that he did for us, I really liked. And he was the starter here by default because there was really not much else that would beat him out as far as shooting-wise. So you play with that if you want. You figure that out all you want.
And one of the things that I want to highlight, too, because what I did was when I went back and watched that game again, the Nets game, and then when I watched the Orlando game last night, it's that one offensive set that they run when they have 2 guys at the elbow, 2 guys at the wing, right?
Yeah, Rich, that's where he's best suited at. Like I said, he just got into a great situation coming here.
Yeah, and it's not, the set isn't bad. The set isn't bad having 2 guys at the elbow, 2 guys at the wing when you bring the ball up. The problem is that who you have in the wing, are they a threat? So if you got Thibault on one side and you got Tobias Harris on one side, well, technically, one guy's a partial threat. The other guy is not a threat.
Right. I was just going to say, you can already say what defense are going to say, oh, Thibault, and we ain't worried about him.
So why are we having Maxey at the elbow?
Right.
So technically, Joel should be, if you're going to do that, Joel Embiid should be on the opposite side where Thibault is, and Maxey should be on the strong side. Right. For one reason and one reason only. It gives Joel Embiid room to work.
Yes, absolutely.
Because all Thibault going to do is run baseline.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of weird. Like, I watched that set and I watched them not be successful at it at least 4 or 5 times when they ran it. And I'm like, well, why do they keep... If the set isn't the problem, it's who's in the set.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you didn't put Maxey in the corner who can knock that down, well, now you have a threat and a partial threat. Now you got a guy at the elbow in Thibault who could just do what he's naturally doing. Set a pick, cut to the basket, can finish, dunk, an easy layup.
Yep.
But the ball is being dominated up top by an individual who's dribbling the ball 13 damn times. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the problems right now. That's why the offense look like it's not moving. There's nobody moving.
Right.
There's no movement.
No movement. Yep. Richard just said the same thing.
Yeah. There's no movement. You can watch it.
Thibault should be cutting back door.
There's no way Thibault should be in the corner.
Yeah. So let me throw this.
I got you, Rich. I'm right along with you, brother.
Let me.
I'm right along with you, brother.
So, what would you say, or could there be room to say, in all this madness and what you just broke down? Because I've seen it too. Mm-hmm. So now we're gonna go coach to coach. Okay. A lot of people now have been, let's see who said that. Yeah, Bradley Bill would be, because he can spot up and shoot, and he can also get to his own shot off the dribble. So yeah, I think Bradley Bill would be a great addition. That would mean moving Tobias Harris, which would also be good. You get that money off that contract, and you get the production that you want in that area. I won't say that position, but in that area as far as the scheme. But get into what I was saying. The issue with a lot of people now saying that Doc Rivers is a bad coach. He makes too many mistakes and this and that. And for me, I give you the narrative. Like I said, the narrative is he always falls short in the playoffs. He doesn't do well with adjustments and lineups. For me, I said the same thing. I said there have been times when he's left some of his bench players in too long.
Right.
I can't give you that. I'll definitely give you that. But speaking from a coaching standpoint, and I've said this to people, and some of the people looked at me like I was speaking gibberish, like their head was spinning when I said it. So this is what makes me understand and realize that they don't know that much about coaching or questionable basketball IQs or basketball knowledge. If that's what he has to work with on his roster, he has to give those guys a chance. And I'm sure with the Furkans and the shakes that come in the game, there's always stuff along the line. Look, you're going to go in at this point, and I need you to do this. I need you to do this. This is what I'm looking for from you. If that player goes out there and doesn't do it, is that really the coach's fault?
No, not holistically. The coach plays a part, but the play's been sent out. Here's where the coach's fault is. If you have the wrong parts to the play out on the court. Like, I don't understand why they're not doing like pinch posts.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why. I mean, when you think about some of the offensive sets that the common is pick and rolls. Right,
Rich. There's no shooters on this team.
There are no shooters.
Right.
But you have 3 scorers. You got 3 guys that can create their own shot, but you do not have a shooter that can stretch the defense, so to speak.
Ryan brings up a point. He says, when we play Brooklyn, Thibault should be posting up Curry, even if we don't pass him the ball. He can at least lean on him back and tire him out. Absolutely. That's basketball knowledge.
Yeah.
You know? And right now, Matisse doesn't have that in his game, but that is definitely something that could be used in this situation. So,
simplicity.
With what you just said, Baldy, so you can easily say that there is a split and blame to go with that. So you can't necessarily say it's all Doc's fault. And I'm not clearing them saying he doesn't have a part in it, because I agree with what you just said. Personnel, like sometimes you leave them in there too long. And you kind of, from a coaching standpoint, a lot of times you have to make do with what you have. So like Baldy said, the coach's fault comes in when you leave a Korkmaz in the game too long. When you leave a Shake Milton in the game too long. But at some points down the stretch, I know when we get to a playoff situation, My guys are going to play more. So when I have the opportunity, based on matchups and situations in games, I have to play these other guys because I need that rest for my guys. And a lot of times, the way the Sixers have performed, they really, in my opinion, don't have the luxury to do the load management like a lot of other teams can with their stars. Right. They don't have the luxury for that.
I mean, and again, we looking at how things run. And Theron,
Richard Dreesen, he says the rotations.
Yeah, absolutely. And Theron, you right. Like literally, we are supposed to expose the weakness of other teams. Why shouldn't we? They're exposing our weaknesses. Yeah. So why not go big body on small body, and look and require them to do a double team. Mm-hmm. But the kick is, that play that I was telling you about, where we go double high and then we go wide. What is that? That's called the horn offense or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. All right. And I know Richard knows this because he's in it. He's in it. And so that play only works if your cutter can finish, if you have a willing passer.
Right.
And you got people that can stretch the defense in the corners. Mm-hmm. If they're not there, they can pinch in off all that.
Absolutely.
And they'll live with this guy over in the corner who's not going to shoot it anyway.
Right.
They'll live with that.
Yeah.
What happens is if Niang's in the game, they got to get out there. Mm-hmm. Tobias Harris in the corner, they would have to get out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But Niang is a defensive liability because footwork ain't good. Mm-hmm. So when they go pick and roll, he's stuck on a small guard and they are right by him.
The only credit I give to him in that is he does give you the effort.
He does.
And that's the reason I think he's been playing more than Korkmaz and Shea, because they're all three defensive liabilities. But he's been shown to give you the effort. And that's something that you can't teach, and that's something that coaches love. And then it's just a plus that he can shoot that three. And he can dribble enough.
Yeah, to get to the cup.
To get to a shot.
But the one thing I kind of like about him too is he's not a true prideful defender, meaning he looks to go defend. He doesn't do that. But he's upset if somebody get a bucket on him.
Right.
It's not like, oh, all right, he got that, all right, back down the other end. No, you can see in his face, he's like, God damn, So, and he's trying to figure it out. I can live with that.
So Theron just said, when we played Atlanta, they would pick and roll Curry, and Curry would end up guarding Gallinari. That's a 9-inch average, and Gallinari would post him up and shoot over him. Absolutely. The same thing that Kevin Huerter would do, same thing.
Gallinari, you're right.
Kevin Huerter would do the same thing. Not so much posting him up, but he had good looks because of the height advantage.
Gallinari is not a star, but Gallinari is a bruiser on the post who has post moves, who is a good finisher with his back to the basket.
Especially if you switch out the smaller guys on him.
With his back to the basket. So if you don't have a dog, it don't matter what play you run. If you ain't got a dog down there willing to do it don't matter.
It's exactly what we say. Basketball IQ.
You gotta be a dog. And again, we don't have enough dogs.
Nope, we don't.
We ain't got enough dogs. We got some players, but we ain't got no dogs.
Absolutely.
And anybody that knows basketball knows, even on the pick and roll, you're looking for the mismatch of having a smaller defender on you. Yep. You're looking for it.
Absolutely.
We got to go out. And the one thing we're good at is getting to the basket and getting to the free throw line. Mm-hmm. The faster we put them in foul trouble, the easier it becomes for us to get to the basket. Other teams can't play you the same because now if they touch you, we on the free throw line.
Absolutely. You got to take advantage of what the teams give you.
Yeah, you got to. That comes with the territory. But we are not taking advantage of that.
Absolutely.
We're not simplifying the game.
Not at all.
And like we always say, in the game of basketball, what we're doing on that court right now is dribbling a lot.
Yep.
Well, guess what? It's always going to be true. Less is more.
Absolutely.
So
it's always that.
The less you dribble, the less you dribble, the more people move because the ball's moving. If the ball's moving, people's gonna move. If the ball's dribbling, people are gonna stop.
Yeah, well, around we know that. That's what we
that's what we said. They we know they don't do that.
That's what
we know they don't do
the
it
whole entire time.
We know they don't do it.
You are absolutely right. So, folks, good brothers, everybody that's tuned in, we hope y'all come back. Frank tunes in late, so we hope you come back. We're gonna take our first break. It's gonna be a quick one. When we come back, we full in on the NCAA tournament. We are going to quickly jump into the women's tournament, and then we will come back and close out with the men's bracket. You are tuned into SportsRap right here on Heat 100 Radio. Real quick, the last comment, Richard Drummond says, Doc and the players are making it harder on themselves. Quick baskets and putting a team in foul trouble changes the defense on
changes everything.
Absolutely.
Changes everything. Changes everything.
It's Heat100Radio.com.
Or whatever, and had your Facebook opened up. You can get the link. It's in the group description. So get there and check it out. If you are with us, everybody that was with us this morning, we hope that you guys can come back and chime in. We will get to a little bit more Sixers talk. We're gonna talk a little bit about that Ben Simmons grievance issue in a little bit. But right now, we are doing what we do at this time of year. This time of year, you know what it is. It's March. Robert Reeves, thanks for joining in. It is March Madness, and tournament time is on us. The big dance is here, however you want to refer to it. But before we get deep into that, I just want to shout out the boss lady, Simply Monica, for being honored Saturday at the Blue Coats game.
So.
You know, March is Women's History Month, so we are honoring women, and they were honored. It was a great outing. Shout outs to the Delaware Blue Coats and my guy, Coach Joe Richmond, the ambassador of basketball for the Delaware Blue Coats, who had his hand in that, and we appreciate you, Joe, as much as you appreciate us. Like I always tell you, the pleasure is always mine, and I appreciate you more. So shout outs to Delaware Blue Coats for honoring Simply Monica, the boss lady here at Heat 100 Radio. And also, another quick shout out to the team, the Delaware Blue Coats. If you saw my post, I was joking around with it, but it kind of got to me, and I felt like it was proper to say it. Little brother got a little bit of get back for big brother because the Delaware Blue Coats beat the Long Island Nets, who are the G League affiliate of the Brooklyn Nets. So little brother did get a little bit of get back, beating them 130 to 120 Saturday night. So thank you guys for that. We appreciate you all for that. So we look at the women's tournament, and in some ways, for me, the women's Final Four is just as exciting as the men's Final Four. Maybe sometimes a touch.
I think it's better.
The overall number one seeds, the four number one seeds in the women's tournament this year in the Greensboro bracket. So they get to stay close to home. Dawn Staley in the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks. In the Spokane, you've got, she does have a legit chance to win it all. Rich, I think she should have won it all last year. There was a couple questionable calls late in that game where I thought could have turned the tide and had them win it. But she definitely does have a legit shot at winning it all. Stanford is the number one seed there in that Spokane. In the Bridgeport, NC State, and in the Wichita bracket, Louisville. So those are your four number one seeds. The women's bracket has also, we mentioned that, Nate, wow. If he has passed, I didn't know that he passed already, but last I heard that he was in very bad condition. So, they did, Rich. I saw that. That's why I just mentioned. Too many bad calls late in the stretch of that game last year. As you know, the teams have been extended, from 64 to 68 in each. So the first four in the women's bracket, which games will be played March 16th and 17th. You've got Howard and Incarnate playing for the Incarnate Word, playing for the 16th seed in the Greensboro bracket to go up against South Carolina. The Longwood University and Mount St. Mary's are also playing for the 16th seed in the Bridgeport bracket. They will go up against NC State. Playing for the number 11 seed in the Greensboro bracket, Dayton and DePaul. The winner of that would get number 6 seed Georgia. And in the Spokane, another 11 seed competition, Missouri State and Florida State. And they would also get the number 6 seed Ohio State in the women's bracket. So just real quickly, looking at this women's bracket, and like Richard just brought up, yeah, Diamond Johnson, absolutely, Rich. Robert, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, must-see TV. Diamond Johnson on NC State. Looking at this bracket, it looks like Dawn will have a nice road. I'm not going to say it's easy because we all know what could happen in the tournament. So they, like Richard brought up, and I read that comment, they have a very, very legit chance of winning it all this year. So we'll see how that bracket plays out and all of that jazz. So moving on.
Richard say look for a lot of upsets this year in women's bracket. That's what makes women's basketball so exciting because of the parity.
Mm-hmm.
The parity is what makes it exciting. No different than this year in football. There was so much parity. You didn't know who was going to win. Right. That's what made it exciting. The playoffs was exciting because of that.
The funny thing, a lot of people don't pay attention, don't take notice, and probably won't admit. In my opinion, the women always play harder than the men.
Always.
Always.
Rob. Reeves.
And there's a definite difference in the coaching. Robert Reeves, I'm sure you can attest to this. Like,
you are our
and our guy.
You are our guy.
And our guy, JC.
JC,
does the workouts and training.
Right.
Women are, in my opinion, and when we had Coach Mo here, she chimed in as well. I just feel like women are just a touch easier to coach. Because you can say to a girl, a young lady on a basketball court going in and say, listen, you're going to run this UCLA cut, you're going to pop, you're going to get a wide open shot, shoot it. That's all you got to do. Do your cut, get to your spot, and shoot it. On the other hand, when you say that to the young men, there's always some extra, some jazz or something added into it.
Yeah.
If that UCLA cut happens to be inside the three-point line, at some point somewhere in the line, they're going to try and make their way to that three-point line. Or if they have to catch and dribble to get to that shot, they're going to try and have some pizzazz. They want to try and make somebody fall or something like that. So those are the things, the little quirks that I think make the women, in my opinion, a little easier
Women's
to
basketball,
coach. Yeah, Richard agrees. Women are easier to coach.
They are detailed.
Troy Sanders said, I think some of the women shoot better than the men. Yeah,
they do.
Lying about that.
They do. The detail and what it takes to become a very good shooter. I know. I coach young men and young women. And I train kids from 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm telling you, all our girls that come underneath our umbrella, they've been in the state championships right now. Samaya, Josh came, one of us. Like, we got about 7 or 8 girls right now in public and private schools that are playing for championships as we speak in the city. It's all about the detail. It's all about repetition. And it's all about knowing what's right and what's wrong. Young women and women in general in the sport of basketball know how to correct their mistakes in terms of form and all this.
Absolutely.
Whereas the young punks, will tell you, no, this is how I shoot. Mm-hmm. This is how I shoot. Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead, keep shooting from your hip. Go ahead, keep doing that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like there's like this bump back with young men that they can't take criticism. Whereas the young women are far more receptive to criticism. They're far more instructional on how to get better. They want to get better, so they're like, well, coach, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna see. Whereas, your guy, you might get a few kids that's cool.
Omar says attention to detail and fundamentally
sound. It's different, man.
Absolutely,
it's different.
What up, Frank? Yeah, they say absolutely. So looking at the men's tournament, the 4 number 1 seeds in the men's tournament, the overall number 1 seed was Gonzaga, and you have Arizona,
Richard,
Baylor,
they think they know,
and Kansas as the number 1 seeds in the men's tournament. So we always analyze this men's tournament. Like I said, we gave you a real quick once over of the women's tournament. So you look at this men's tournament, and I don't know what happened. I was hoping for, at worst, a play-in game, but it could arguably have been the conference. Maybe they didn't have enough power wins for my guy Aaron McKee and Monte Ross over at Temple.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can get into the NIT and make a good run there and put everybody on notice for next season. Moving on. Oh, Frank, here we go again. He rolling with Arizona. Listen, you can roll with Arizona all you want. I understand what they did in the Pac-12. We know what the Pac-12 has been for the last several years. Pac-12 is not what it used to be. No disrespect to Arizona. Like I said, they're got the best record. So I don't understand why they weren't the overall number 1 seed. But it looks like they were. But I've heard that Gonzaga was. But they should have been the overall number 1 seed at 31-3 with the best record. And again, like I said, we all know what the Pac-12 is now. But while we're on that note, Rich says a lot of busting brackets on the men this year. Schools who have been on top for long by name are going to get beat. Absolutely. Yeah. Why you said that? And last week, shout out to my guys down in Chapel Hill, Carolina, who played spoiler on the senior day last home game for Coach K. That was a good game for us. Helped us get into the tournament, I believe, and then our play in the ACC tournament helped us get in as a number 8 seed in the East. But getting back to this South bracket where we see Arizona, who was this that said, Troy, let's go Duke. Troy, we about to ban you from
Troy, get out of here,
commenting
man.
on this
with them
podcast
dookies,
here with them Duke Blue Devils.
Get out of here, them little dookies.
Yeah, love your support, though. Support your team, man. That's what we want you to do here. Looking at this bracket, who's this that wrote any day? Yeah, Rich, that's what I'm talking about. Any day Duke is beat is a good day. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've been hating Duke since forever, man. I'm
Yes,
Ohio.
indeed.
I just want to let y'all know, I am an Ohio State fan through and through.
Yeah.
I'm an Ohio State fan.
Rich said, yeah, it beat. I'm talking about Frank. Yeah, Frank, you better stop riding with all these well names. Like Richard just said, it's going to be some upsets. You got to start looking at some of these other schools, man. Because we saw what happened a few years back. What was it? Duke and North Carolina got bumped out early.
Yep.
So you can't go against these teams just because you haven't seen them. Like you said, it's one and done. And for some of these kids, these young men that are going to be playing in this tournament, this is arguably a once-in-a-lifetime feat for them. Some of these teams that got in this year or whenever they get in, it may be the only time that they get in. And it's tough.
Hey, Rich says since day one,
right.
Christian Layton, Bobby Hurley. I'm going to tell you, dog, that Duke-Kentucky game down at the Spectrum, I was there, man. I remember saying it's over for me. I remember. We were still in high school. We went down there. And I remember when he hit that turnaround, it wasn't like a loud scream like, yeah. It was like, yo. Because a lot of us in that arena Hated Duke.
It was shot.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Frank. So you a Syracuse fan? Huh?
Yeah.
Where's Syracuse at?
He a Syracuse fan.
Yeah.
He must be a Derek Coleman fan.
Where's Syracuse at on this bracket?
You a Derek Coleman fan,
Frank.
dog.
So where is Syracuse? Richard said he was there too and it devastated.
Oh man.
Where's the great Syracuse?
Listen, all he need to know, he better make sure what you call him, son ain't punching nobody else in the stomach again.
Troy, I'm sure. Troy says I was about to cry until Grant passed the ball and Christian Lane caught it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Richard, you right. And I'm going to take that back. I'm TU to the core too.
Oh yeah.
I'm TU to the core.
And we got some we got some family, some local guys from Villanova. We got Eric Dixon to Villanova. So, we got some ties there, absolutely.
My man Jay Lawson. Shout out to my guy Jay Lawson, Al Williams.
Hey, Kyle Lowry. All Philly products that went to Villanova. Right now they got Colin Gillespie. They had Ryan Arch. They had Arch. I hate saying his name because I always screw it up, but you know who I'm talking about. Shout
out to Isaiah Brockington.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Out there in Iowa State handling this business.
Cool. So let's get back to this bracket. We're going to stay here with the South. And like we said, with Arizona, it looks like Arizona's not going to have an easy run through this. I mean, although they were 31-3. Like I said, we all know what the Pac-12 has become as far as a conference and how they were still considered, or they still might be considered a power conference, but the talent level just doesn't fully fit them in to what I would say as a power conference. So we know what that is. Mm-hmm. You've got Houston in that bracket, which could be a tough game for them. I think Houston's going to be a tough out. Ohio State is always tough. They might be a tough out.
Yeah.
Villanova, with the coaching and the way they've been playing, is going to be a tough out. In my opinion, I would love to see the championship for that region be Arizona and Villanova. I think that would be perfect. The one seed, 2 seed, and I think that would be a very, very good game there. Illinois is also in this bracket. Illinois, although they're 22-9, we all know that, or I know that they had a really, really good season. They have a solid team there. Hence, they are the number 4 seed in that region. And again, like I said, it's not going to be a cakewalk for Arizona there. Like I said, Houston, Michigan is also in that bracket. I just overlooked them. Michigan, Tennessee is in that bracket. Ohio State and Villanova. So that's going to be a fairly tough bracket for Arizona. Moving on to the Midwest, where Kansas is the number 1 seed, and they would get the winner of the Texas Southern, Texas A&M playing game, which I didn't give you those, the final 4 for the men's bracket. For the number 11 seed, Rutgers at Notre Dame, and that is for the West bracket. The number 12 seed for the East, Wyoming versus Indiana. The number 16 for the South, Wright State versus Bryant. And also the number 16 for the Midwest bracket, Texas Southern versus Texas A&M. So we're going to stay with this Midwest bracket. Like we said, Kansas has Texas Southern, Texas A&M winner. They've got in their bracket Providence, who could make some noise. Auburn, that's Creighton maybe. Mm-hmm. So that's like pretty much it where I feel teams that could give Kansas a run for their money. And those are solid teams. Like we said, Creighton from the Big East, Providence also from the Big East, Auburn from the SEC, Iowa State.
Looking at you, young fella.
Hey, so listen.
Looking at you, young fella.
I just noticed something. And here I go with me again. You know how I do, Baldy, sometimes when I see stuff and I know it's stuff that I can bring that could be laughable. I'm looking at this Midwest bracket, and we just mentioned the local ties that we have from the city to Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number, what's that, the 6-11 game in the first round. Guess who their opponent is?
I'm looking on here.
You're going to crack up when you see who that opponent is.
I thought I had it written down.
Somebody that used to play for us played for them.
LSU.
LSU is now in the NCAA tournament. So what is this? And what is this? 4 or 5 years removed?
Yeah,
From
man.
having
a
overall number 1 pick in the NBA lottery.
To me, I guess because my man Anton Brockington, me and Brock came out same year, but Brock wound up going, and he was at Coppin State, and made his run, get to the league.
Shout out to Twine.
Yeah, Twine, that's my guy. You know what I mean? We played.
We brought Twine out of retirement once. He played in the league with us, man.
Twine was a hell of an athlete.
Yes, he was.
He and I both played football and basketball and competed against each other, talk trash to each other to this day. But his son has this freakish athleticism to him that Twine could get up.
Right.
But Isaiah gets up.
Yeah.
Isaiah's a lefty. He's been putting on since he transferred to Iowa State. And that was exactly what they needed on that team. They needed to do. He literally came in, man. And because I seen I watched the first 5 games of that season when they was trying to fill their way through. And he was just the closer, right at him. Him, the other point guard. It's another point guard that's a dog on that team. But he had no problem deferring to him because he knew what Isaiah could do. And you watch him. And literally, he's the number 1 guy. He's probably the second best rebounder on the team, and he's a guard. Mm-hmm. So he's one to watch.
Absolutely.
And in terms of draft potential, he's got that D Wade. He got that D Wade type of game to him. Mm-hmm. He's extended his jump shot and got crazy.
Yeah. And like you said, he's that freaky left-hander.
He that freaky left-hand guy. He can finish, too. And I mean, he's physical. You know what I mean? Since high school, he's been like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seen him in the Chosen League at Raheem Jerk. Same with just dunking all over people. Yeah. So ain't much change, but I'm glad that he's in a better position. Right. And we tied in. We watching.
This is like the perfect showcase.
I can't wait till they play.
For him. Yeah, perfect showcase for him.
And like you said, we got a bunch of young guys.
Yeah, rich left-handers.
Yeah, a bunch of young guys right now from the city that are in this tournament. Yeah. I'm mad that Maryland got bumped.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I wanted to see Fats in that.
Yeah, and you had the other kid from Imhotep.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to see them guys rock and roll. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But
I mean, but teams like that, we hope will get the little bit lesser showcase and end up in the NIT, which is still solid.
I'm gonna have to do my research.
Make their wares.
I'm gonna do my research, and I'm gonna write down all Philadelphia guys that are going to be playing in the tournament, and we gotta find a way to shout them out. Absolutely. And let them know the city. You know what I mean? City watching, baby. City watching.
So when you get the list, you can text me or post the list, and I'll definitely run with it and give all of them their props. Definitely, we'll do that. So moving along into the East bracket. Yeah,
Rich said he researching too.
The number 1 seed in the East is Baylor University. Yes, what do you got for me, Omar Phillips? Speaking of Imhotep.
Well,
what do you got?
Their girls and their guys won. And one of the, it's 1, 2, 3 kids that played from our program, and my man Shy, his son plays. Yeah. And like I said, Maya is on Imhotep girl team. Shout out to my man Rich Gillian. Rich is the assistant coach. Shout out to Stan Williams as the boys basketball coach. That's his pop used to teach us in school. That's his son that got the program over there.
Looks like Philly is back where we've always been. Yeah. Right back in the mix, man. A lot of stuff going on with some guys from Philly. Just got another alert. The Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, Troy.
Let's see here.
Shots on Dev gonna be a problem, man. Dev got this Eddie Jones wiry frame to
Miami
him,
Dolphins moment
where he if he get a steal, he out.
Mm-hmm.
He can finish. He can pull up. He got a Kevin Durant frame to him, but he in the 10th grade, and he gonna be a killer.
Right.
Yeah, it is, Rich. It is.
Yeah,
Philly
yes,
is the Mecca.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy because Philly is a Mecca. But here's the weird part. Unlike other major cities, Philly, we got to go to North Carolina and play in tournaments, to Florida and play in tournaments, to Tennessee and play in tournaments. We go to Jersey and play in tournaments. We go to New York and play in tournaments. Nobody coming here.
Nobody's coming here.
Nobody coming here. So we don't have a venue to funnel all this talent that's here.
And there's plenty of space.
And there's plenty of space.
Here.
Nobody's coming here.
So
we're going to go showcase our talents. And this is why
that's something
that
definitely needs.
That's why the recruitment is different.
Because when you look on social media, you see a lot of people that have a lot of leagues for the men, the adults. Yeah. I think we need to try and start something and figure out where we can get a niche with some of the people that we know and stuff like that to try and get the recognition, like you said, Barty, to have the people come here and play, as opposed to us always traveling somewhere. So that's
and I ain't really talking about like no AAU stuff. I'm talking in terms of, we have to. When I went to Cleveland, they have a thing called the hoop, and when you go to the hoop, you pay $5 to get in. When you walk in, they have guys that played overseas that's teaching kids. You pay $5 for this. Mm-hmm. They got the gym. They got the gym where you can work out. Literally a schedule on how to work on your body. So they got this facility, and they got the comeback. So everybody that plays overseas, they all play in this league that are from Ohio.
And we've got that here. I mean, Ramon just started the league, the Brotherly Love League.
Yeah.
So we've got that here. Maybe I got to talk to some people and see how we can try and possibly begin
it's a lot
to
of
talk about putting something like that together. And I know
it's a lot of separatism in the city because,
which is crazy.
A lot of people want to say, I'm the one that put you on.
Yeah,
I created
it's too
this.
much. It's way too much talent.
Yeah, it's beyond
It's still coming out of this city for it to be like that.
People got to understand, it's beyond you. The concept has to be in front of you. You have to be behind the concept along with other people. You can't be in front of what the concept is going to produce and who is going to help.
Right.
You can't. You got to humble yourself and fall back and do all you can.
And as soon as people understand that, then, and I truly believe that if the conversation is sparked, there would be heavy dialogue. And then, like you said, there's enough people in and around the city where something like that could come to fruition. Yeah,
like Richard said. He said exactly. He said that's what he's been working on. He said that's what has to be worked on. Mm-hmm. That has to keep our talent stay here and come play here.
Right.
Troy said the bad culture of the city trickled down to everywhere else.
Yeah.
And like you said, I can even go back to when I was in high school, 89, 93. I could take those 4 years. Mm-hmm. Out of those 4 years, Mark Jackson, Adonald Foyle, Aaron McKee, let's see. Well, Lionel not in our age group.
Yeah, Lionel was with me, like 85.
Yeah, but Kareem Towns. I'm thinking of the guys that stayed local, but then you got to look at the quality of play. Okay, you had Jay and Alvin Williams went to Nova. So you had guys that did stay, but she went to Carolina.
Right.
All right, Ty Weeks went to UMass. Mm-hmm. Mike Robinson went to Hawaii. Like you got guys that were here.
You can go back a little bit. You can go back even further. Like I was 88, so I was like 84 to 88, 85 to 88. Like you said, we had Lionel and all those other type of dudes and that thing. But you can go back to Doug Overton's.
Oh yeah,
the Howie
definitely.
Evans, the Nate
Definitely.
Blackwells. So, and guys that even if you step away from that note, you got guys like Lewis Lloyd.
Right.
Go back further, Earl.
But think of the guys, because in that 85, 84, 85, 86, 87, with Pooh Richardson and everybody, and Hank Gathers and everybody, that talent pool is almost identical to that 89, 93 talent pool.
Yep.
And it produced a lot of pros. It produced a lot of pros.
A lot of pros.
And the weird part about it is, it used to be this thing. I never forget. We used to be down Gustine Lake saying, "Yo, what would it be like if all this talent stayed in the city?" And this is when they first created Hoop It Up. Mm-hmm. So Hoop It Up was at the what's the joint up there? The
Philadelphia University?
No. Franklin Mills.
Okay.
They had it at Franklin Mills in the parking lot.
Right.
And I've never seen that many college coaches.
Yeah.
I've never seen that many college coaches.
Thanks for coming back, Deron. Troy says, he said the city was different now. The city was different. Now it's so dangerous the kids want to get out. Absolutely. But it's dangerous.
Hey, D, get out of here, man. Man, you go through this all the time, too.
Yeah, that was man.
Man, you go through this all the time.
That was us, Deron. Yeah, that was it. But like Baldy said,
that 9-3, baby, 9-3, baby.
But like Baldy said, even if you break it down and then you make your selections and then you lump it all together, it's a plethora of talent.
Yeah.
That can be funneled into these youth. And also, although Troy is true in what he said, the situation we have in the city right now, that could begin to be the safe haven.
Well, yeah.
And then you have these kids prepared either way, because we've had quite a few kids that have gotten to go to some of these big name schools and end up coming back to closer to home to schools. I mean, look at most recently, it was, you could almost call it a pipeline between Roman Catholic and Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got Lamar playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
You got guys that are overseas, guys that are overseas. But that pipeline was, if you will, for lack of a better word, was somewhat created.
Hey, come on, D, don't start your stuff.
Yeah, he said 85 was the best year. What did Rich say? Rich says,
yeah, but you definitely got to
get them young and keep them playing. Absolutely. And the best thing about it, and possibly getting it here, is you're going to have the tutelage and the knowledge coming from the guys that made it to that level, that walk the same halls you walk now, played on a lot, if not all of the same course that you play on now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that much more receiving, if you will, for that, and let alone what they look like. But these are the guys that played in these same gyms that you play in right now. So yeah, we're gonna have to talk to some people and see how.
Hey, D, cut it out, man. Hey, D, listen. D, I hope you listening. All right, Deron. All right, and I ain't gonna lie to you. This used to be our argument.
Every city does have problems. You're absolutely
because we live next door to each other.
It's just a matter of how each city deals with those problems and handles those problems.
Only because we live next door to each other. This used to be our arguments. But D, we also had Jay Lawson,
Rondell,
Ty Weeks, Rondell, Alvin Williams, Mark Jackson, Donald Foyle. I can keep going. Yeah. And then you got to go back with Kareem Towns.
Right. It wasn't really
Aaron McKee
that much of a, he laughed and I used to laugh out loud. It wasn't that much of a slack off in talent.
At all.
Like the talent was pretty much, I mean, if anybody had an edge.
Did not Sean Colson make the league?
If anybody, and you remember what Sean Colson told us about when he played with franchise. So we know those stories. We ain't going to diverge into that.
But didn't Catino Mobley make the league?
Yeah. But
okay. I keep going, D. I keep going.
When you get to gauging that talent and trying to say this year, And I understand we having fun, and I'm going to go. I'm going to have some loyalty like the Ryan. I'm going to have some loyalty.
Oh, yeah.
To that because that's where I was. Just like that's where he was. Like Baldy, that's where he was. So we went, Lane Greer, Jerome Pooh, absolutely.
Well, Lane came after and Pooh was before us.
What I was going to say was,
but talent, man.
When you try to gauge that talent and put it like in levels, it's extremely hard because it gets you to like that horse race. It's only by nose.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
When you compare that talent, and this is no disrespect to any one of the eras. We just talking like overall talent level in the city of Philadelphia basketball. If you go to try and gauge those eras, that talent, once you sit and take your time and go through all the talent that was there, it's only going to be maybe a nose. It ain't going to be no big advantage in it.
Ain't going to be a big drop off.
Now, it's going to be some bias. That's where the only way you're going to get a bigger advantage is when you get to talk to those guys that have that bias, that won't want to agree and won't want to listen to everything that we're saying now.
And Rob Pooh was with you. You old dog.
It's not that much. It is not that much.
Ain't that much of a drop off because you got to look at the amount of pros that came out in '85 is damn near identical to the amount of pros that came out.
Right. And you could arguably say, Theron, Baldy and them was the same way. Stephen Turner, thanks to
Listen what he said. Listen what he said. In '85, right? In '85, the city was crazy.
Absolutely.
And in '89, when I came in, I was 13, playing against Harry Moore, Aaron McKee, Black, Kirkley. Like, come on. Like, that Gratz team was crazy. Frankfurt just won back-to-back city champs. You had Masbaum, had Joby over there, had Kevin Benton over there.
Yep.
Like, these are... West Philly had Devin Baker. You keep going. Ronald Keenan was over at Brook. Malik Rose was over at Brook. Like, come on, dog. The city is crazy.
Right. Like you said, Theron, I give you that. '85, we were freshmen. It was crazy.
It definitely was crazy.
And everybody can have their moments.
Yeah.
Troy just brought up FLC. We forgot about Newt. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Newt was after.
Thanks for that,
Meatball,
Troy. Thanks for bringing that up.
Kareem Parker.
This is exactly what I'm saying when I say every era when you go, that talent level, realistically,
Joe Newton,
without all the biases, if you just base on basketball talent, it's never going to be a huge advantage if you just base a talent. Not even accomplishments what everybody did, just within the city.
Talent,
Because remember, for a long time, it was so much separation where it was a public league city champion and it was a Catholic league city championship, and that was it. And look back to Ryan, I hope you're listening, and look back to how long city schools out of Philadelphia did not make state tournaments.
And let me be clear, D. There's only one team in high school basketball history ever to be ranked #1 in the country and never win a state championship. And that's Gratz High School. And they was in our division. So I want you to really look at this. We literally, in our sophomore year, lost 3 games. We were 17-3. The next year, we won 23-2. The next year, we was 26-3. And still did not win a city championship. So
and didn't get invited to the state championship.
The amount of games that and this same Gratz team went down to Dunbar High School, who was Trump tight with Joe. What's his name? Joe Smith.
With Joe. With Joe.
Walked down there with Joe Smith. Joe Smith was #1 guy, #2 guy, and rocked.
Right, Ryan. That's my whole point.
You couldn't play states back then.
Right.
You couldn't play states back then. I mean, Roman had Marv.
Because they knew that there was a very high chance that them state championships in whatever divisions, A, AAA, AA, whatever, was arguably going to come to the city.
Well, this is why the PIAA is having some issues now, because once they opened the gates, it was over. Because what happened then, charter schools came in, and you don't have to live in your neighborhood to go here.
And remember, we talked about that in a while back when people would always say, people ask
I
me a
know
lot.
you weren't in PIAA. I'm talking now.
People said to me a lot,
the PIAA
how
now is a little upset.
that some of these charter schools get good so fast. And it's just what, the point is just what Baldy just said.
Yeah, they ain't want us in there.
Baldy, you take it for what it's worth. Baldy's from Hunting Park. I'm from the other side of the park, Avery Avenue, whatever. So, and for all intent purposes, my neighborhood high school would have been Grievance.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Alany, at the time he went, very good.
And technically, if I lived on the other side of the street,
right,
I was supposed to go to Grievance.
So now, with the charter schools coming in,
it changed the whole.
Even though I could go to Grievance and be real good, but I still got to play against Baldy. I know what Baldy can do. And I know I got a couple people with me on my side. He got a couple people with him on his side. Yo, look, Baldy, we can go to prep charter and be the basketball team. Not just be on it, even though we might have played our part or whatever our roles were on, if we hypothetically, if we had been at Gratz and at Alany. But now you can say, look, Baldy, you bring Monty with you. I'm going to bring Bunk with me. I'm going to bring Money with me. I'm going to bring Joe with me. We going to go to whatever charter and we going to be the basketball team. Again, hear me out. Not be on it, and this is no discredit to being on a basketball team, but we could essentially be the basketball team. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of things that people don't understand. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we Deron, because Deron, you just said you weren't in the PIAA, but if you played basketball other than football, we could easily say, hey, look, and we got a bruiser. We can bring D with us. That could be our bruiser. And we go to prep charter or whatever charter and look, we gonna be the ish.
Yeah. And like Rich said,
that's the biggest difference.
Now you can bring some people with recruiting. You can.
Absolutely.
That's what changed. That's what changed the whole form of high school basketball. High school basketball was neighborhood friendly.
Yeah.
It was neighborhood friendly. Yeah. And you could find cats that didn't live in the neighborhood that went to certain schools. Right. But it wasn't an influx.
It was always a league somewhere. It was a league in Hunting Park.
It wasn't an influx.
We had 15th Street. We had Duckery. You know? We had a lot of leagues.
It just wasn't like me going to Alany.
Nice town. Yeah.
Me going to Alany. Naturally, it was a lot of cats from Logan that went to Alany. Because Logan's right around the corner.
Right there.
But then I live in Hunting Park. Well, that was the neighborhood school. That's what they said the neighborhood school was.
Right.
I got accepted the FLC and George Washington. I wasn't getting up 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning
to go to Washington.
That wasn't happening.
Right.
FLC, I was just like, I ain't feeling it.
Who'd you say?
Right, Troy. That's my point. That's my point.
Exactly, Troy.
And see, this what happens.
That's the whole point we make.
And this what happens, Troy. This the weirdest part. They had just built Edison, the new one, which is on Luzerne. And the only way you can get in there is if you went to the old one down on Lehigh Avenue. So technically, Edison would have been my neighborhood school because it's in the 19140.
Yep.
I've been able to walk around the corner and go straight to school. That's normally how your neighborhood schools were. It was in walking distance.
Yep.
That's your neighborhood. Alany is not my neighborhood.
It's not. And it ain't walking distance.
So once they built that school up there, you don't think I tried to get in Edison? I knew jokers that went to Edison because my folks were from down 7 Allegheny. Mm-hmm. So I definitely was trying to get into that school.
Yeah.
My man Lamar Pooh was over there. You know what I mean? My man Black was over there. I had a couple homies that was over there playing ball.
Right.
I would have loved to go there.
Yeah, and that was always the case.
Now and again, I wouldn't play football because they was trash. But
it would have been.
But it would have been my neighborhood school.
Right, Rich. I mean, Bodine wasn't my school either.
You're right.
Yeah.
But in the scope of things of how the city kind of like transformed into the chartering, because I know Troy knows this, that Alany High School was the first school to get charter programs. They were not the first charter school. They were the first school to get a charter program.
Troy said, no, not us. On 13th and Allegheny, they sent us to Cook, then Alany, but he got kicked out of Cook, and they sent him to Clemente.
Well, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, because you on the other side on 13th Street.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, Troy, how sometimes you could live on right across the street. Like, the way Baldy just broke it down, if y'all didn't catch it, me and Baldy could have lived on the same block.
Yeah. But
just by chance, lived on the opposite side of the street.
Yeah, you got the even number address. I got the odd number.
Technically, his high school is Omni, and technically mine would have still been Gratz.
And Troy, first of all, you was never supposed to went to Cook.
And he just said super crazy.
You was never supposed to went to Cook. Your school, your junior high school was supposed to been Stetson. You were supposed to got your ass on the 60 and went straight down Allegheny Avenue because you was on 13th and Allegheny.
That's right.
So Stetson was supposed to be your middle school.
Absolutely.
they robbed you, brother.
Yeah. So let's jump back.
But I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came to Clemente, brother. I'm glad you came.
Let's jump back into the tournament real quick so we can get to that. We can catch that Ben Simmons nonsense. Maybe before we close out. Baylor, shouldn't be too tough for Baylor. Let's see. They got Norfolk State in the first round, which should be an easy win. Virginia Tech may be a little problem for them there. Kentucky's in their bracket. Depending on what Carolina team shows up, they may be able to make some noise. But like I said, those are my guys. But like I said, depending on what team shows up there. And finally, the West bracket with Gonzaga. It looks like if you just go by paper, Gonzaga would basically have the easiest run until they face Duke. So and Memphis, might cause some problems there. But that is your NCAA bracket. And my reminder, folks, first four, March 15th and 15th to the 18th. So that would be Tuesday, Wednesday. Then the first round starts. We'll be at the Drake Tavern on the 17th. So there will be some NCAA games going on there. It's also St. Patty's Day, so I'm sure there'll be some specials. So stay tuned all week for all the promo and get all the information on SportsRap Live on location at the Drake Tavern every other Thursday. And this coming Thursday, the 17th, we will be back. So we got a little bit of time. And we mentioned to you in the opening about the Ben Simmons and him possibly or preparing to file a grievance against the Philadelphia 76ers in order to recoup some of that $20 million or so that he was fined by not coming to work, mind you. So here's the thing. There are quite a few people that say that he might have a good chance of winning. Then there are other people that say he probably doesn't have a chance. Me, I'm one of the people leaning more towards the chance of saying that it would be very, very tough because you have to look at the whole entire situation. He was under a legally binding contract and he didn't come to work. So we all know what happens in the regular world. You don't go to work, you don't get paid. Same way I broke it down when this whole thing started out. You work a 40-hour week if you're what we like to say, the common working guy, the average Joe, jokingly or whatever. You work a 40-hour week, which is 5 days, 8 hours a day. You work 3 days of that week, you only getting paid for the 3 days that you worked. So that would be the 24 hours for that week. Okay? A lot of people get caught up in the amount of money and because he's a pro athlete, difference of that, which you shouldn't, because at that level, it makes it even harder. Like, for the average Joes, you don't work, you just not getting paid.
Right.
On the other hand, because there's a legal binding contract, the Sixers have the right to fine you, or that business has the right to fine you. So that's what happened. He was fined because he didn't come to work. And people, if you don't understand the way that thing works, it's a legally binding contract. So you are a member of the Sixers organization. Even if you don't play games, as that being your employer and you being the employee, you still are required by that contract to come to team meetings.
Yep.
you should be at practices, even if you can't participate or whatever. Team activities that go on are usually required by that legally binding contract. And he even went as far as to almost slap or spit in the face of the 76ers when at one point it was reported that the Sixers were in South Philly playing an actual game, and he shows up at the practice facility to work out with some of his homies in a private thing or whatever because he lived right down the street. So when you talk about him trying to get some of this money back, and Richard says he's not getting money back, he used mental health illness as a ploy. Absolutely. And, I really disliked him doing that. But getting to the whole thick of things, into the thick of the matter, it's going to be very tough, like you said, because in essence, the Sixers could counterpunch and say, well, you didn't come to work. So technically, you were in breach of contract. And can argue that, well, we want to void this contract. And what would happen if they void the contract out? Well, then you're really going to be in the hole because then you won't get nothing. So they fined you, as they should have. You showed up so they could stop the fines, but then you reverted back and you did the same thing again.
Right.
Then you tried to claim the mental health illness or the mental illness in the situation. And the same way we mentioned, Baldy, myself, and a good friend of ours, Claude, worked in the mental health field. His reactions to being traded and being on that bench in that short of time, with him appearing to be smiling and in a very good mood, doesn't typically happen that fast when you claim a mental illness, when you also add in that it was so eerie or it was so triggering for you to even walk into that facility. But now you're in another facility and you can walk in just as easily. And I understand people have different recovery times and all of that matter, all that jazz. But even if you do, it typically doesn't see you go from allegedly having some type of mental illness where you cannot perform, to the point where you cannot perform your daily activity of your job, to now being traded to another facility, to another team, and all of a sudden all of that's gone. I'm happy to go lucky.
And a lot goes back to what Danny Green had mentioned. What Danny Green mentioned was no one was talking to Ben Simmons. They tried to call him over the summer. He changed his number. And then when he showed up to the practice facility, he told them, this is Danny Green, so I don't know how much truth is. These are his words. Strap up your seatbelt because it's about to get crazy in here. I'm going to see this. They going to have to pay, and I'm going to see my way out of here with a trade. And then Danny Green said they openly, amongst other players,
began to talk
converse about trades that were happening, including themselves within the trade.
Right.
Openly. So that's conduct detrimental to a team. You came in and made a
contract.
And again, this is something that Danny Green mentioned. Well, that's hearsay. His word against his word. He can easily say, I didn't say that. Now, if you got more than, I don't know how players going to function with that. They probably like, man, I ain't getting into all that, man. Let him be where he at. But if this man decided to come in, tell them, strap up, because I'm about to make everybody, I'm about to get crazy, then this was not about this is revenge.
Absolutely.
This was not about your mental health when you finally showed up to the practice facility. You were trying to prove a point.
Yep.
And your point was, I'm going to force them to do what I want them to do so I can get out of here.
Yep.
And all that plays a part. And his mental health might have kicked in when he realized he wasn't winning the battle.
That's right. So Rich says, plus anyone that has mental health issues will have a tougher time to go get help, to get the help they need. The Sixers offered him help. He said no and didn't come to work. Then he used the mental health issues for a PFA against the fans for abuse. Total BS. Rich Paul is horrible in this too. So yeah, like when you look at that thing where this all came about, where he was going to try and use the fans booing him. You played for the Philadelphia 76ers, now the Brooklyn Nets. So there's 29 other arenas that you're going to go in where that's likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You play in the NBA. I mean, that's what fans do. I mean, hell, you even saw it on Wednesday. They booed their own team. You saw it in LA. They booed the Lakers. So fans get to that point where they're naturally going to boo the opposing team.
Right.
But if they have any kind of passion for that team, when that team begins to play bad, they're going to boo their own home team.
Most definitely. I mean, let's just look at it like this. Let's break Ben Simmons down real quick in the simplest form. Rich Paul is the mother who allows her child to do what he wants to do and is always taken up for him. The Sixers is the father that's like, no, he needs to do it. He needs to be held responsible for it. And so the relationship between the mother and the father, which is the owners and the agent, becomes friction.
Yeah, Rich, what does that mean? That's if he even plays at all.
Yeah, it becomes friction. And the only person that doesn't have to worry about anything just yet is the spoiled brat. Mm-hmm. Until the mother says, I'm taking my son and we leaving. And that's what happened.
That's what happened.
The spoiled brat didn't get his way, went and told his mommy. Mommy then told daddy, listen, he shouldn't have to do all that. No, he need to be held responsible. Well, let's get him some help. Let's see what's wrong with the boy.
Right.
It ain't nothing wrong with me.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's like, well, something must be wrong with you, brother. I told you to take the dishes. I told you to clean it, do your job. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to do his job. And then mommy says, you know what? I'm taking him and we out of here. And guess what daddy said? Yeah, but not with my money.
Right on.
Not with my bread.
Not with
I'm taking him to another home. Mm-hmm. And took him to another home. Problem is, he don't wash dishes, cut grass, or nothing there either.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely been coddled his whole life. Like you said, fans were behind him up until that seventh game against Hall. Absolutely.
Man, Richard, I'm going to say this, and I'm always going to say this. You cannot be the point guard, and you're shooting 50-something% from the free throw line. If you got the ball in your hands 65% of the time, you cannot shoot 50-something%. Now there's no point guard. There's never been another point guard in history, a starting point guard in the NBA's history. 75 years. Never been a starting point guard that has ever shot 50-something% from the free throw line. That had the ball in their hands 60% of the time. That can't shoot a 10-foot jump shot. That's what guards do. That's what we are capable of doing. That's the one shot we know is available.
That's what we're supposed to be.
That's what we're supposed to be.
That's what we're supposed to be capable of.
Come on, that's what we're supposed to. And he's in a league where it's transformed into a 3-point shot, and it took him 3 years to shoot one. And I'm not even talking about just a half, 3-2-1, just half court jump. He didn't even do them.
He didn't even do that. Not at all.
My apologies. I was thinking of his field goal percentage when I said that.
That's right, Rich.
My apologies, Rich. You're right, 32%. I was thinking about his field goal percentage.
Right, and wondered why he
got
at the end of the game.
You stayed correct. Thank you, brother. That's even worse.
My question to that, too, is now, what is he going to do when that same thing happens with the Brooklyn Nets?
What's changed? What's changed? Because
he hasn't played all year.
And we all know in a game of basketball, when that game online, you resort back to what you're comfortable at doing. That means hot potato, get the ball out my hand, move out the way.
And now you playing with two guys, when Kyrie can play, that don't need to be set up.
At all. So they don't need you on the court. They don't need you on the court.
And they both can shoot free throws.
They don't need you on the court. Steph Curry's a good free throw shooter too. And he can shoot. They don't need you on the court.
And it's not afraid to shoot.
So they'll use you for 3 quarters. But when that game start getting on, they don't need you or a liability.
And it's crazy because he has so much talent.
The potential is crazy, man.
When you look at all the craziness that he has in his head and outside of basketball, the potential that could be there could be something amazing. But like Baldy just said, what has changed? Has anything changed? I don't think it has because he hasn't played.
Only thing I seen him change was from a frown to a smile.
That's all.
If that's contributing to your mental health,
that smile
then
ain't
keep
gonna
going
get
in
you
the
no
same.
buckets.
If that's contributing to his mental health, then by all means, brother,
right on.
Smile. Keep smiling.
But that smile ain't gonna get you no buckets.
That smile can change very quick.
You're a basketball player, so that's your job to put the ball in the basket at some point.
Yeah,
it may not be for you to go out there and score 50, but in very crucial points or in a lot of situations, your job is to put the ball in the basket.
It's gonna be an issue if he's bringing the ball up the court, hands it to Kyrie, and they double team Kyrie, and then he hands it back, and this joker ain't nobody next to him.
He just better be
10
glad.
feet.
He just better be glad he didn't play with AI, because you know what AI would have told him. Oh, I gave it to you. But,
right.
You give it back. I'm not. It ain't coming back. You ain't shooting.
Right, Richard.
It
Richard.
ain't coming back.
Right, exactly, Richard. He's on the bench getting points. Like, this guy is unfortunate that he's in 5th year.
Yep.
5th year. He's still got to prove himself in year 5. He's been an all-star.
Definitely been an all-star.
But he's got to, and that was potential and mainly defense.
Yep.
He's got to prove. That's why when I hear everybody saying, well, they don't need him to score. You're right, they don't. Yeah, he a facilitator. You're right, he is. Yeah, he play defense. You're right, he does.
But they've got people that don't need him to facilitate. Their players create their own shots. This is not the Sixers where they got to run off a loop and get the ball to a guy. You could even go as far and say they knew somewhat what was going on. Or they already had a plan in place for how they were going to utilize him because they signed Goran Dragic.
Exactly. So my point to somebody when
if it was all roses for him to go there, we could have ended up with Goran Dragic.
And the man said out his mouth, and correct me if I'm wrong, Richard. The man said out his mouth, he's not playing center. 6'10". He said he ain't playing center.
Reminds me of Anthony Davis.
So when they go to a small lineup, what spot he gonna be in?
Bench.
What spot he gonna be in when they go to that small lineup? Because technically you're supposed to be at the center position.
Bench.
He ain't gonna do that.
Bench.
So he's already made that statement saying he's not playing center. So that's your way of saying you're not going to sacrifice part of your game to help us win.
And Richard said, but in the playoffs becomes a liability. In the playoffs, because everything slows down.
Everything slows down. Everything becomes a half-court offense.
Stand in the corner.
It don't matter. They can still slide over him.
They can slide all the way to the. They can slide to the edge of the paint.
They ain't worried about nothing he do out there.
They can slide to the edge of the paint and clog that middle up. Lessen that space.
They ain't worried about nothing he do out there.
Nothing at all. So there you have it, folks. Another great episode of the SportsRap Podcast right here on Heat 100 Radio and on Facebook. Thanks and shout outs to everybody that tuned in. Robert Reeves, Richard Drummond, Troy, Omar, Nate. Yeah. Everybody that tuned in and chimed in, Theron. We definitely appreciate you guys. We definitely appreciate the support. As you know, like I mentioned a couple seconds ago, this Thursday, we will be back on location at the Drake Tavern, approximately 6:30, 7 p.m. We're going to have some sports talk. We're going to talk a lot of sports there. We're going to have some fun. We are going to be able to see some NCAA basketball March Madness. Of course, we'll probably maybe have some drink specials, but I'll keep you posted on that throughout the week. So make sure you are tuned in. Your schedules for today. One game on the slate in the NHL, the Coyotes at the Senators. In the NBA, You got Clippers and Cavs. The Nuggets are in town to play against the Sixers, the Blazers and the Hawks, the Hornets and the Thunder, the T-Wolves and the Spurs, the Bulls and the Kings. The Bucks are in Utah to face off against the Jazz, the Wizards and the Warriors, and closing out, the Raptors are in LA to face off against the Lakers. You know where to find me, folks, right here every Monday and in the group SportsRap Podcast on Facebook, at SportsRap_D on Instagram and Twitter, the webpage, sportsrapradio.com, the audio, iHeart, Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most of your podcast outlets. And what else we got? YouTube, SportsRap TV. Make sure you get over there. Check out the videos that are there. Hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And finally, hit that bell so you will know when new video is up. Baldy?
You can catch me at Ball75 on Instagram and Baldy Aaron Moore on Facebook.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Anybody that can come out, we'll see you on Thursday. If you cannot make it Thursday, you know where to find us. We will be right back here Monday at 11 a.m. and all week on social media. Peace, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.